Welcome back in here to Live Now from Fox. I am Andy Mack. As I pass the baton off to my colleague, Shauna Kalafi, we do want to leave you with a developing story out of Michigan as the governor, Gretchen Whitmer, has declared a state of emergency over a water main break, saying we are activating all state resources to help support impacted communities in Oakland County, restore water service as quickly as possible, and ensure Michiganders have access to safe drinking water. And this comes after a water break early Sunday in Auburn Hills, impacting residents of several surrounding communities. A few hours after the break, the governor declaring a state of emergency. The break occurred on a 42-inch main in River Woods Park around 1:30, which were identified in neighboring townships where the main first began leaking last week. They were closed for crews to work on that main. Let's take you out right now to officials in Michigan providing more of an update.
Are we good, friends? Russ? All set? Good? All right. Good morning. My name is Supervisor Chris Barnett. I am the Township Supervisor of Orion Township, where we sit today. Here with many friends and colleagues about a very important issue. So I want to first tell you that the utmost care and effort is being put into this extremely important situation. We have been working this since May 6th, what started as a leak. And we had contingencies that we were working literally around the clock since that started. We were working scenarios, and unfortunately, the worst of the potential scenarios happened at about 1:30 a.m. this morning, where we experienced a full break in the main that feeds a 42-inch main that feeds northern Auburn Hills and the entire 36 square miles of Orion Township and our village of Lake Orion. So I won't get into the specifics too much of that because Sue from Great Lakes Water Authority will do that. But what I want to tell you from my seat, what we're doing, foremost to the residents that live in northern Auburn Hills, Orion Township, and the village of Lake Orion, this is not a drill. This is a very serious situation, and we need your attention. If you know someone that lives in our 36 square miles, we're asking you to reach out to them because we have a very scarce resource. Water stopped flowing to our community at about 1:30 a.m. and I got a call from Sue at 1:38, and we assembled here in this building from about 2 a.m. on, and we've been working and growing our team throughout the morning. But what you see on the screen behind me is an image of the water tower that we have, and the good news is we have a water tower, we have storage, so we were able to have that water tower full, which holds about 2.5 million gallons. And around this time of year, that's about 1 day's worth of water for Orion Township and the village of Lake Orion. The challenge that we face today, which is very real, is that we have learned from our friends at Great Lakes Water Authority that this might be a 2-week process to fix this situation. So do the math. 1 typical spring day's worth of water and more than at least a week of dealing with no new water coming into that. Now, there are some potential opportunities for that, but we have to plan right now for the worst case. So what we started to do this morning is what started as a voluntary effort. And I'll note that that water tower, you can't probably see very clearly, but it had 44.5 feet of water. That's how we measure that. And that's 2.5 million gallons. This morning when we came in at around 2 a.m., it now currently has 33 feet. And it's rapidly depleting as people are using the water. So what we have done, it started as a voluntary closure of businesses and telling residents to only use water for emergency things like hydrating yourself. What we are telling residents they should not be doing is laundry, certainly no irrigation of lawns. We started looking at the list of businesses, and we started first with car washes and things that were sort of extra, and it has quickly expanded to literally every business. Unless you are providing life-saving services for our residents, and I'll talk about that in a minute, we are asking you to not use water. Clearly stated again, we're asking you to not use water. The longer we can keep some water in that tank, the better for all of us. Now, we understand this is very uncomfortable. We have planned for things like this. We didn't think it would ever happen, so we are executing our plan, but it's going to be very uncomfortable for our residents. Our most vulnerable population are the people that live in the assisted living and the nursing facilities. We started at 3 a.m. this morning, led by Fire Chief Ryan Allen, at least in Orion Township, with moving those people out of our community. Every single one of them will be moved out of our community. We've moved on now to the group homes. Those people will also need to be moved out of our community. They cannot stay here without running water, without flushable toilets. We do have water facilities, drinking water facilities that have been set up. There are 3 of them that exist. One is going kind of north to south in Atwater Park in the village of Lake Orion. The second is at Wildwood Amphitheater, which is in the middle of our township here, just off Joslin Road. And then the third is at Auburn Hills DPW building. All that information is available on Great Lakes Water's site, Orion Township site, and I believe Auburn Hills site as well. We've been working very close with all our partners at the county, at Auburn Hills, in the village, and law enforcement, fire. This is a very precarious situation because we use water to put out fires as well. So restaurants, it's Mother's Day, have brunches. Churches had thousands of people coming. It's one of the busiest days of church, and we've been telling every one of those people that they can't meet and they can't be open for business. The good news is that our community is resilient. We have been through tough times. We look out for each other. This will be like every other situation in Orion Township. It's going to be uncomfortable, but we will get through. The other good news is we're going to show some love to our neighbors in the meantime. So you can go 3 or 4 miles, either north, south, east, or west, and get to some place that has not been affected by this. And you can frequent their restaurants, maybe find a friend that will let you take a shower in their home, and go on about your day. So that's the good news. And hopefully the good news on the back end is that all of those people that we're showing love to now, our businesses are struggling. I've already heard a couple of restaurant owners in tears about how many tens of thousands of dollars they're going to lose on this day alone, Mother's Day. So hopefully the good news will be that will be reciprocal when we get through this on the back end with people showing love back to our community. But that's what we do here. We look out for each other. We're asking for your help. We're asking for you to tell people this is not a drill. We don't want people to be turning neighbors in, but you can gently remind someone if you see a sprinkler on outside. This is really important, and the health and safety of our community depends on our residents' quick and swift actions, and we are also relying on the quick and swift actions of our partners as well. I will tell you the governor, his team has reached out to me, and we were supposed to have a call right at 10, but we have this press conference, and I've been texting with Senator Slotkin, and I spoke with Congresswoman McLean directly. They all want to help. We are going to need their help. So that's kind of the view from my seat. We're going to take questions at the end, but I want you to hear from a few more people. First, Sue Coffey, who is the CEO of Great Lakes Water Authority, who's been right here beside us from when the situation first started last week.
So thank you, Supervisor Burnett. I really appreciate it. And I want to say also, GLWA, like the communities, we understand this is an incredible challenge, right? To say it's a burden or inconvenience just doesn't give it the magnitude that it really deserves. But let me talk to you a little bit about some of the most common questions that we get. So I'm going to start here. So the leak was discovered on Wednesday, May 6th. And the most common question we have is, well, why didn't you just fix it then? Right? Very reasonable question. So fixing this break requires us isolating. It's like the pipe networks are just like a big net. So you have to isolate either side of that. In this case, it is a single feet of the system at the end of the system. So when we isolate to repair the break, it instantly takes Orion Township out of water and the northern part of Auburn Hills out of water. That's the situation we're in today. The leak was stable. We called it stable, meaning it was bubbling up out of the ground. It wasn't getting worse. We're thinking, okay, we're putting our contingency plans in place. So as soon as the leak was discovered, we started putting the contingency plans in place. The plans had been there. So we started working those plans. As Supervisor Barnett said, we had the worst case plan, which is we're in now. We had better case plans that would have taken longer, but wouldn't have put people out of water. So we can't work those anymore. We're working an intermediate plan right now, trying to move water around our system through the city of Pontiac up to, unconventionally up to this location, so that you're able to have water up here. When this was computer modeled, the modelers didn't think it would work, didn't think there'd be enough water. They thought, well, it's possible maybe, but we're trying it anyway, right? Because we have to. So they're doing that right now. So we isolated immediately, got that going. We had to shut off a few other connections. There were 4 other city connections, different municipality connections, and then begin to push water and build pressure backwards through our system to get up here. So that's what we're working on right now. So there is a chance, right? But it's very likely Orion Township and the northern part of Auburn Hills will be out of water today, sometime today. That's very likely. And it is all about this water storage. Both communities have storage. Storage doesn't last forever. So that is why we didn't fix it earlier. Had we went to fix it earlier, it would have created this emergency earlier. We really wanted to see if that leak would stay stable enough for us to make it so, we had a plan where you weren't out of water at all. So that's the piece. So status of it. Right now at the break site, so we're moving this water around. Our systems control center is moving this water around. That's a group of people. The people who are working on the break are working as fast as they can. We had already staged equipment out there. We had already staged a pipe out there. We already staged pumps out there. Right now they're pumping down the hole. When these pipes break, this type of pipe, they blow like this. So they create a big hole, and then the water just starts pouring in. That's why you have to isolate. But they're pumping that down now. It should be a few hours while they're pumping that down. That's the goal. At that point, they will really stabilize the excavation so that they can get down into it safely to get that pipe out and to replace that pipe. Now, the one thing that complicates the matter with drinking water pipes that is different than other types of pipes is that they have to be disinfected in some form or fashion for our health, our public health. We have to do that. So there's a piece of this that is going to require, once we get all this done, you say, well, gosh, how long could it possibly take for you to repair a piece of pipe? We're going to do that very expediently. But we do have to disinfect and sample, and those things take a while for public health. So we're working with our partners at the state to see what can we do to crunch that down, perhaps to get water just for sanitary services, even if it's a boil water advisory. Because that's the most important piece, right? Flushing toilets, the most important piece. So we're working through that timeline. You heard the timeline. The best timeline I can give you is we're still at a 2-week spot. Today, as today unfolds, the fluid situation might be better. We might be able to give an update that says it's something better. We're not thinking it's going to be worse, but you never know until we get down to that pipe and take a look at what it looks like. That's why this isn't a drill. It is absolutely critical. We have had this happen before, not looking at a 2-week time frame, but we have had it happen before. And communities have gone through this. And so there are resources about what to do when there isn't water service at your home. So those types of things are on our websites. I would encourage you to go to your community's website, because they're going to have the most up-to-date information for you about your community. Auburn Hills and Orion Township, in as much as they're in this together, they also have separate systems. They're functioned separately, and just because something happens in one community, or say Rochester Hills, for example, well, water advisory for Rochester Hills, doesn't mean that's the same thing for Orion or Auburn Hills. What you really need to do is go to your community's website. And again, I'm just going to reiterate, we can see already that the water restrictions, the water use restrictions that have been put out there are helping. This is what you can do to help. And it's real. It's not just, like you said, a drill or something we're just saying, a little bit. It really helps to keep the demand down on the system right now, because the whole name of the game is building pressure back up so we can turn pumps on to get water up here. And so with that, I can't reiterate enough, we understand this is a terrible hardship, and we are doing everything we can, and we have the best people on it. So with that, I'm going to introduce County Executive Dave Coulter.
All right, thanks, Sue. I'll be brief. Happy Mother's Day, everyone. One that we'll probably all remember for quite. This is, as the supervisor has said, a very serious situation for the folks that are affected, and we know that. So I just want you to know that the county has deployed all its resources. We stood up the Emergency Operations Center and are working closely with Supervisor Barnett and the mayor of Auburn Hills and potentially other communities were in the contingency plans. Fortunately, if you want to call it fortunately, we're down to this part of the map right now. But it's a serious situation. So I'll start by reiterating what they both said. This is not a drill. Please, if you're in the map area, do not use water. This is a very serious situation. It's also a health situation. I'm here with our health officer, Kate Guzman, because when it comes to restaurants and long-term care facilities and the rest, there's health implications as well. And so our team is on that to make sure that we're coordinating the best care for our residents. This is going to be expensive, and I don't want to start anticipating costs. We'll do whatever we can to make sure that we get the water and the equipment that we need to help these folks. And as a matter of fact, I did, just as I was walking into the auditorium, get a call from the governor earlier today, about 2 or 3 hours ago. I signed an emergency declaration letter to her asking for disaster assistance. She has that. She reiterated that she had that, and they would expedite that request. I don't know exactly how long that will take, but that's important in order to get state and federal funding for that. So we'll make sure that we coordinate that so the community so that it's not a financial hardship on this community or the residents. But it is going to be a hardship, and I just want to acknowledge that. I want to encourage the residents to not use water, and just know that you've got a team of people here. Sue, your team at GLWA has been wonderful. Supervisor Barnett, thank you for your around-the-clock attention to this. Mayor Hawkins from Auburn Hills is here. This has been a team effort, but it's going to be a community effort now, and it's up to the residents of the community to pitch in. And next Mother's Day, we'll look back at this and remember how we were neighbors with each other, and we did everything we could to keep people safe. And so I just want to reemphasize that. And I would like to introduce, I mentioned the mayor of Auburn Hills is here, Mayor Hawkins, but I'm going to introduce the DPW director, Steve Baldante, to give you a sort of a DPW perspective from the Auburn Hills perspective. Thanks, everybody.
Good morning, everyone. Steve Baldante. I'm the Public Works Director for Auburn Hills. I want to reiterate a lot of what's been discussed already, echo all of their comments. The gravity of the situation, it's intense. And when we start talking about emergency water use only, we really mean it. So everybody needs to be doing their part to the best of their abilities. I think a really key piece is that everybody needs to stay informed as best as possible. Auburn Hills will be, our main form of communication will be through our website. Any sort of updates that occur will happen. It's auburnhills.org. It's a very fluid situation. Every 30 minutes, information's changing. So the more informed you can stay, the better off you'll be. We do currently have a boil water advisory in effect for the northern part of Auburn Hills. Some are precautionary, but it is in effect, and that's basically everything north of Cross Creek and University. If you're looking for an exact map, that is on our website as well. We do have a water tower as well. We're dealing with the same situation. We have about 27 feet left in ours, so it won't last forever. So just want to really stress the importance of that emergency water use only. And the water station at DPW, just so you know, it's located at 1500 Brown Road in Auburn Hills. We have to replenish those occasionally when they run out, but that should be in operation for quite some time. And with that, I think we're going to go to the member communities.
You're just hearing from officials there in Michigan discussing a water main break. We wanted to bring you some of that press conference from earlier this morning. Thanks for watching live now from Fox. I'm Shauna Kalafi taking over for Andy Mack the next couple hours. We have a lot to get to, starting with an update on the hantavirus outbreak aboard a cruise ship. The remaining passengers disembarked the ship this morning, and we got an update within the last couple hours from officials with the World Health Organization. We'll have that all for you right after this 2-minute break. Stay with us. Welcome back to Live Now from Fox. I'm Shauna Kalafi, and we are covering the latest from that hantavirus outbreak aboard a cruise ship off the coast of West Africa. The remaining passengers on board were able to disembark this morning in the Canary Islands. Dozens of cruise goers that were affected by that hantavirus outbreak are now being flown back to their home countries. Americans on board the ship will soon arrive at a quarantine center in Nebraska. Fox's CB Cotton has the latest.
I mean, this is a virus we know pretty well, so it's not like COVID where it was a new virus and we didn't really.
In the Canary Islands, the first passengers evacuated have arrived in Madrid and will be taken to a military hospital. An expert with the World Health Organization says they are recommending weeks of active medical follow-up.
Our recommendations are that everyone who goes back to their home country is followed up with active follow-up for 42 days. This would include checks, health checks by authorities, and either be quarantined at home or quarantined in a medical facility.
More than a dozen Americans are headed to the National Quarantine Unit in Omaha, Nebraska. Nebraska Senator Pete Ricketts says the quarantine unit has dealt with COVID and Ebola and is fully equipped to deal with the hantavirus too. ABC News reports the CDC will not mandate the remaining Americans to quarantine at the facility.
I would leave that up to some of the experts at University of Nebraska Medical Center to determine whether or not they can quarantine safely at home. Obviously, that's going to be more comfortable for them. But if they need to do the quarantine here, I guarantee you we will do a good job of taking care of them.
Repatriation flights are expected to continue through Monday for passengers and crew members still on board. In New York, CB Cotton, Fox News.
And as we saw some of those passengers disembark this morning, flying back to their home countries for quarantine, we did hear from officials with the World Health Organizations within the last couple of hours with that update, the latest on the hantavirus outbreak on board that cruise ship. This is them speaking from Tenerife in the last couple hours.
If you want, in English, when we have finished the first day of the evacuation of the Endius, the operation has gone well, and according to the plan, we have disembarked 94 people of 19 nationalities. 7 flights with 8 nationalities and 1 with 11 nationalities. The flight of Netherlands, and one of the French citizens has had mild symptoms during the flight, and the French authorities will proceed to implement their control and their protocol. One more time, I want to thank the WHO, the ECDC, the European Commission, the DG ECHO, of course, all the institutions and all the governments here in Spain, the army and the ministers that are here, and of course all the governments and the commitments of all the countries that have been involved in this operation, and we have a very good cooperation and a very good day today.
About the WHO advice for the passengers returning home. What is the isolation or the quarantine period that these people should follow? And if it's true that the United States is not going to follow that, it is not going to advise or impose any kind of quarantine, any kind of isolation.
Yeah, so our advice is clear, starting from May 10, 42 days with active follow-up, 42 days of quarantine.